For those of you hoping that James Gunn has brought us the definitive version of a Superman movie, well, I have bad news. This is not it. But make no mistake, not only does this movie do incredible justice to the character of Superman, but it also is very much worth a trip to the cinemas. Let's discuss Superman. I was talking to my sister a few months back, and my dad, I guess, was in the background of the phone, and they were asking me why there is a new Superman actor. And I think it's a fair question, and it does illustrate a problem that I think is going to be arriving for WB, and that is the fact that people are confused. It hasn't been that long since Henry Cavill was cast as Superman. We didn't really have that many appearances from him, and now here we are with a brand new, fresh start. And a lot of people don't even realize that that even took place. But yes, the DCEU that we saw with the Zack Snyder movies, with Henry Cavill, with Ben Affleck, that is gone. This is a soft reboot of that. And I say soft reboot because this is not technically a full-on reboot. You want to know why? It's because James Gunn decided to keep the contributions that he brought to the DCEU. That's not narcissistic at all. Superman stars David Corenswet, Rachel Brosnahan, Nicholas Hoult, Nathan Fillion, Isabela Merced, and Edi Gathegi. By the way, who's the one who royally fucked up the cast list on IMDb? Because I went to go check out some of these characters, some of these actors, get the spellings of these names correct, and I was shocked that I had to click on see more to see Lois Lane or Guy Gardner. What? Y'all need to fix that. That's ridiculous. Fix it. In this film, we are thrust into a world that has already well established who Superman is. In fact, this world is also already used to metahumans, which I have to say I really do like. I like that they're not wasting time in this movie laying out a bunch of groundwork. If you're going to play restart with your franchise in the middle of trying to catch up to Marvel, and they are already well on their way, then you better not waste time with origin stories, and it's looking like they're not going to. I mean, at this point, you would have to be living under a rock, and you've been living there your whole life to not know the story of Superman. So come on. In this film, we see Superman dealing with the weight of being an unwanted guest on our planet. He's globally accepted. Some people really like him. Some people really don't like him. Some people being like Lex Luthor, people like him. He views Superman as an outsider, an intruder. He looks down on him. He talks about him like he is less than because he's an alien, when in fact, quite clearly, he's more than. And since I mentioned Lex Luthor, let me just jump right into that because he is one of the best characters in this movie. Nicholas Hoult was awesome. And I just felt a sense of pride watching him in this movie because the first time I saw him was when he was quite younger in that movie, The Weatherman with Nicolas Cage. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's a really good movie. And Nicholas Hoult was in that movie, but since then, his career has really taken off. He had that movie Warm Bodies. Of course, he had Mad Max, and he went really popular for that movie with the whole spraying the silver stuff in his mouth. That movie was great. And you know, he's a really solid actor, and he was a spot-on choice to play Lex Luthor. His Lex is bitter, ruthless, angry, and he's quite clearly mentally troubled. Nicholas Hoult is a true scene stealer in this movie. When he comes on screen, I forget about everyone else on the screen, even if it's Superman. Now, how about the man of the hour? Let's talk about Superman, because that is the name of this movie, and he obviously is a huge character. And I did just say that Nicholas Hoult steals scenes from him, but not usually. That's not usually the case. David Corenswet does an excellent job bringing this new version of Superman to life, and one thing that really sets his Superman apart from Henry Cavill is that this version seems way more flawed. He's not this immaculate stoic symbol. He's very much a person. He's a person that of course can carry a building, and he has ice breath and laser eyes, but he never really seems that godly in this movie. And some people might take issue with that and say it's a fatal flaw, but I liked it because it made his character just a little bit easier to relate to. Because if one thing is true of Superman, it's that it's really hard to connect to him. He's just so overpowered. He really nails the action scenes in this movie, but it's the scenes where he's showing us the vulnerable person behind the suit where he really stands out. He may not be the toughest version of this character that we've ever seen, but he is probably the most human and relatable since Brandon Routh in Superman Returns, which of course was supposed to be a continuation of Christopher Reeve's Superman, so it felt like we were heading back towards that. And Clark is not the only one in in this movie getting a personality upgrade. Lois Lane, played by Rachel Brosnahan, has also received a fresh portrayal, and to me, she seemed way more how I imagined Lois Lane being. And then, of course, we have our side characters, which aren't as crucial, but still add quite a bit of fun to the movie, and they are not really small roles. I think most people who have seen Nathan Fillion act will speak to his natural comedic talent, and that is on full display in this film. In my opinion, this was not the best version of Green Lantern to show us for the first introduction to Green Lantern in this DCU. I wish we would have just started with Hal Jordan, but I did really enjoy seeing his portrayal. The powers looked fantastic on display, and I have high hopes that that Lantern TV series that is in development is going to be rock solid. Mr. Terrific, played by Edi Gathegi, is yet another scene-stealing character. He has some really solid moments in this film, especially this scene that we've seen in the trailers where he's surrounded by people and he's got this energy thing around him. That scene was awesome, and it's easily his best scene in the movie. He has a lot of other great scenes, though. I just gave this movie a ton of compliments, so why am I saying that this is not the definitive version of a Superman movie? Well, because as well-made as this movie is, and it really is a well-made movie, it's beautiful, it's breathtaking, it's immersive, it looked fantastic in IMAX, it's still not the strongest story. I think perhaps the approach of dropping us right into the middle of an occupied world might have actually hindered things more than it helped. It's pretty obvious that James Gunn was trying to shotgun his way to where Marvel is, because Marvel has been doing this since 2008, and they really have an established thing already. And now that DC's restarting, that's not great. They're at ground zero, so they got to rush, and they are trying to rush. And unfortunately, because of that, it feels like it. Much like how they did before. Remember when they just went from Man of Steel, and instead of giving us a Man of Steel 2, they were like, okay, Batman and Wonder Woman and Doomsday, they're all here now. That was a rush job, and that is kind of happening in this movie, albeit it's done a bit better. This movie feels to me like the equivalent of a DC omelet. You take your peppers, you take your egg, you throw a little bit of cheese in there. There's a lot of really wholesome ingredients, right? But there's still some shells left in, and the seasoning is a bit too much. The movie reaches for the stars, relies a bit too heavily on humor, and really could have grounded itself way more and given us a story more focused on Superman, the main character. I think the better approach, since this is our first Superman movie with this new Superman, it would have been better to just give us a more Superman focused story. We didn't need to see all these other characters. I think he should have been the star of his own movie, and unfortunately it doesn't really feel like he is the true star. He is part of an ensemble. This movie, it feels like an ensemble. So to me, this movie just reached for too much. It tried to do a bit more than it really needed to do, and as a result, this is not the most defining moment in the Man of Steel's movie history. As a matter of fact, I might even dare say that I enjoyed Man of Steel, the Zack Snyder one, the first one of Henry Cavill, more than this movie, even with its dull colors and lack of a personality of Superman. I just think that that movie overall had maybe a stronger story than this movie, which is a damn shame to say. I feel disgusted even saying it. I can't believe that I am just having to not give a Superman movie a perfect 10, but that is where I'm at. That is the truth. I just was not 100% in love with this movie, and I really had high expectations. Maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe I went in with my expectations way too high, because they were high. I was thinking, okay, I really enjoyed what James Gunn did with the Suicide Squad. I really enjoyed the first Guardians movie, but what I forgot is that I didn't really enjoy Guardians 2 and 3 as much, so I don't always love everything that James Gunn does. I don't think he's a godsend, and I'm not sure he's the savior of DC. Based on this movie. All that being said, for me, this movie is an 8 out of 10. I think it's brilliant. I think it's beautiful. It's breathtaking. The action is really awesome. I loved the tone in some parts of the movie, but in other parts, I thought the movie was just a bit too James Gunn for its own good. And I think that's something that a lot of people have been concerned about, and I can say that those concerns were valid because it is kind of an over-the-top, ridiculous, silly movie. It's fun, and it is exciting to see Superman back on the big screen, and it's awesome to see him on the big screen with some fucking color, but it could have just been a lot better. That's my thoughts on this movie. What did you guys think of it? Please put your thoughts on it in the comments and let me know just what do you think of my take? Did you like my take? Do you agree with me? I bet you a lot of you are not going to. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you want to hear more things from me, you know what to do. Subscribe. Later.